What's up, golf addicts? Welcome to Tour Junkies After Dark, presented by DraftKings. David Barnett of the Tour Junkies right here. Pat Perry, my man, with me with the Bohm shirt on. We got
back
some
back in the wine cellar this week after
back
being
in the
on
wine cellar.
vacation. Yeah,
We got some
we got some good vintage back here. A lot of good
Mm.
boxed wine. I just got this one out of this one here.
this one out of this one.
Yeah.
I got an adult beverage myself. It's very late. We just recorded our podcast for the WGC-FedEx St. Jude Invitational. Lots of words. 78-man field, no cut event. It is the precursor to the first major of 2020. The PGA Championship is next week. You're not going to want to miss the content for next week. Huge event. Can't wait to get into it. But this is a big event too. You got a strong field, tons of big names here. Let's talk about the golf course, Pat, which is TPC Southwind, a familiar course on the PGA Tour. Talk to us about the golf course, what it takes to play well. Then we're going to get into some sportsbook plays we like, some outrights. I've got some first-round leaders I want to look at this week. And then we've even got some bonus Barracuda picks for you. If you're like, what the is a Barracuda pick?
Oh, Barracuda.
Yeah. So if you're like, what is a
song? That's not how that song goes, is it? Oh, Barracuda.
No, that's definitely
You don't remember
not
that
the melody.
Song?
Yeah, I do remember the song, but not
How does
the way
the melody
you're
go?
singing it.
Like, ooh, Barracuda.
Barracuda. I don't know. I think it's something like that. We'll
all right.
figure that out.
Anyway, all right.
But we got
Let's
some
talk
bonus
about-
Barracuda picks. And if you're wondering what that is, don't worry about it. It's just a moneymaker is what that is. It's
exactly.
the Barracuda is going to be a moneymaker. All right. Tell us about the golf course.
All right. So, yes, we are at the WGC-FedEx St. Jude Invitational this week in Memphis, Tennessee. TPC Southwind. This is a great course. Now, don't be fooled. Just because this is a WGC event this year and last year, they have played the St. Jude Classic the last 30-something years here on this course. So there is a ton of course history. We had a much larger field before this became a WGC event. But TPC Southwind is a great course. It is a hard course. Typically plays as one of the hardest courses on tour with a ton of water hazards. I mean, this course just gobbles up water. It's like that alligator game where you had the balls that went in the middle of the thing and you were just trying to gobble up balls and crap.
Stop.
Like that's how this thing gobbles up balls.
8 holes. 8 holes with water on it. Yep. It's not as bad as last week.
What was the name of that game? What's the name of that game where you had the alligators and you just banged on the thing?
Talking about Hungry Hippo?
No, maybe it was Hungry Hippo. I can't remember.
Yeah,
anyway,
it wasn't Hungry Alligators. There's no alliteration there.
Anyway, it is a par 70. It is just over 7,200 yards. You got Bermuda greens this week, so that is something we definitely want to pay attention to. Your guys that can putt well here. 78 players in this field, no cut. As I mentioned, a difficult course. 2 par 5s on this course that play actually pretty easy, though, and that's where you're going to want to score. I mean, these par 5s play 554 and 530, so not very long off the tee as far as these par 5s are concerned, so you really got to score when you get there. But here's the key, and here's the meat of this course. There are 8 par 4s that play between 450 and 500 yards. That's huge. So you do need some distance there, but I still like driving accuracy because there's a lot of trouble off the tee. You can't – I mean, you just can't miss these fairways. And even if you do, yes, the rough isn't all that penal, but you're not going to be able to be aggressive into these greens, which I think you've seen the winners do extremely well at every year is they're just aggressive into these greens. They give themselves good positioning off the tee, all that kind of stuff. So I like that. I do like some course history and some recent form. I'm definitely looking at form this week. I think that's something that's key. So we'll see, but there you go. That's a quick rundown on this course. It's TPC Southwind it's going to be fun this week. Great field. I mean, outside of not having Tiger here and a few others, we got a very strong field this week. And there's a little bit of strategy involved when you talk about DFS. From a DFS perspective, ownership is going to be the number one thing that we're going to pay attention to as far as our DFS lineups. Because look, everybody makes the cut. It doesn't matter. You don't have that cut sweat. Everybody's going to get 6 of 6 through. So you got to differentiate your lineup somehow. And the only way to do that is through ownership. And so that is going to be something that we're certainly going to look at. And so we'll see. DB, any thoughts on that?
Yeah, I think the last thing he said is number one, man. It is all about, in terms of DFS, it's all about ownership leverage. Having some leverage in your lineups doesn't mean you can't eat a little bit of chalk, but you got to have leverage this week with everybody making the cut. It's a lot more volatile. It's just you're just not going to get the same edge if because there's not going to be 6 of 6, 5 of 6, 4 of 6. I mean, the last few weeks we've seen like a max of like 4% get 6 of 6 through the cut line. You're just not going to see that unless people withdraw, which doesn't normally happen. So ownership is huge in DFS. After that, I think in terms of stats, it's all about the iron play. It's all about the approach play here. You have smaller green surfaces here. Pat mentioned the Bermuda greens, Bermuda rough as well, which is tougher to chip out of. So if you miss these greens, it's tougher to get up and down than what we've seen in the last few weeks. A little bit harder golf course, which you mentioned in TPC Southwind. So you're not going to see the minus 20, minus 19 winning this golf tournament. So it's more of a hit your spots, hit your fairways, hit your greens. Take advantage of the holes that are birdie holes. Get par on the holes that are par holes, and don't make a big number. Is kind of what you're looking at. But also for DFS, you got to have guys that can score, guys that know when to be aggressive and know how to make birdies and eagles on those par fives. So it's interesting. I do think the course favors guys who play the ball left to right, or I would say faders if you're right-handed. Brooks, DJ, Berger, the 2 years in a row, all 4 guys, all 3 of those guys are guys that fade the golf ball. I think it kind of tends to favor those boys.
And then at the very top, you got John Rahm, who loves to fade it
loves
as well.
To fade it.
He hasn't won here, but he likes to fade it. So.
And I do think weather's going to make a difference. We're recording this on a Monday night. Weather always makes a difference or can, but TPC Southwind can be firm and fast. They haven't had a lot of rain yet, but there is rain in the forecast, a fair bit of rain in the forecast this week. We'll see what happens. But if it plays firm and fast, that could definitely mean something different than if we do get the rain that's projected. So I don't know. We'll see. At the end of the day, you don't have to be long to win here. It does open it up to even your more precision iron players and scorers that are shorter. But obviously your bombers will be clubbing down a good bit, I do think, on this golf course. So let's get to a few names that we disagree on, Patrick. We just did the podcast. There's a few names here that you mentioned that I wasn't really feeling. Let me see. Sell me on – you know what? I mean,
I didn't feel like we had a ton of disagreement.
There was, though. Well, we didn't really get a chance to go at it, but that's kind of what this is about.
Yeah, we were.
Dude, I'm not sold on Sungjae M. $7,500 Sungjae, which the price is not terrible, but the price is factoring in the god awful form. I mean, he doesn't. The quarantine broke Sungjae. The quarantine, freaking, I don't know who popped open his the compartment on his back and changed his wiring around, but the quarantine just did not do him any good. He came out of quarantine, finished 10th at the Charles Schwab. Okay, pretty good. Then 122nd at the RBC. He missed the cut at the RBC Heritage. 58th at the Travelers. 53rd at the Rocket Mortgage. 63rd at the Workday. And then missed the cut at the Memorial. He is busted, dude. Sungjae, something is wrong with Sungjae. And I know you're not trying to get him to make a cut here, but you're still looking for guys with that are in form, that can compete in a big boy field like this. And I'm not buying Sungjae. I'm not buying it.
See, there's a lot that I agree with what you said. And here's the thing is, Sungjae is.
You regret the pick? Is that what it is? You just regret it? I think you're about to say, I see what you're saying, and I regret the pick. What if you just conceded it? What if instead of arguing, you just conceded and you're like, you know what, DB? You convinced me.
No, because that's not going to happen. I will say this. I agree with some of what you're saying. I mean, look, he's not coming in great form. Missed the cut
Can't
at the
disagree with that.
Memorial, and then made 3 cuts before that, but didn't do really anything with those 3 made cuts. And he was playing incredibly well before the COVID and pandemic hit and all that kind of stuff. And we loved him, and he was Mr. He played every single event. But I like the fact that he actually took a week off last week, and he didn't play the 3M.
Rare,
and
yeah.
I think he's going to be fresh. He's 7,500, which is as cheap as we've seen him in a long time. And he's going to be as low owned as we've seen him in a long time. So why not jump on him in a DFS contest where we know he's going to make the cut. We know he's extremely talented. I mean, he can score. He can do everything we want him to do. So why not start on him this week as opposed to, like, what if he plays really well this week and then we go into the PGA Championship and he's, $1,000 more or whatever. He's not going to be. But if, I just think this is like, you're kind of like sneaking in on him. It's kind of like a little sneak attack. You got a little sneak attack. You're going in there and you're like, hey, Sungjae Lee, nobody's talking about him for once. Because everybody
for the past 4 weeks, nobody's talking about him.
He's been still talked about. He
hasn't. Yeah, he's been talking about how bad he sucks. What's wrong with him? Like, that's what he's been talked about.
Sungjae Lee, he's a damn beast. Play him. I love him.
He's a damn beast. Okay.
He was still like let's look at the ownership. 20 at the Heritage, 26 at the Travelers, 15, almost 16 at Rocket Mortgage. Then it dropped down because he started we started seeing, and then 6% at the Memorial. He was at 6% at the Memorial, even though he had shown like terrible poor form. He was still at 6%. We're going to get him even lower in a WGC event this week. I'm all about that.
I don't care how low his ownership is. He's not even trending near the right direction. The irons
That's
are bad.
when you want to take him.
I would love to see a little trend towards the positive. A guy that I one last guy here that I can't get behind at the moment. Jason Day. Now, the biggest reason, and he, a lot of maybe some people are watching going, wait a minute, Jason Day's been playing really good, I think. And yes, he has. He finished 4th at the Memorial, 7th at the Workday. But my concern is the back. His back at Jack's place did not look good. He was clearly hurting. He was squatting down like he was in the woods.
But then how did he still finish 4th at the Memorial?
To pick up his ball in the hole.
He was doing that on Saturday. No, he was doing that actually on Friday. I think you texted me about how he was leaning down to pick up a ball. But he still finished 4th. So it's not bothering him.
I know, but I'm saying at a WGC event, if these guys hit one tee ball in the air on Thursday and then withdraw, they get paid. My man gets paid. We learned this a couple years ago with Daniel Berger. WGC events are different in that way. If he hits one ball in the air Thursday, he's paid. Then he can withdraw. He can move on to the PGA. I'm like, dang, dude. It just the risk of him withdrawing, especially when, it's not likely anybody else is going to withdraw. So if he withdraws, you are done. Because literally every other lineup that doesn't have him is going to have 6 of 6 through. You're done.
If you're ever going to take a risk, then do it on a week where there's no cut. Do it then. Do it right now. That's where you do
like the way he looked, man. He looked bad. He looked hurt. I cannot believe he made it. He made it through.
I just think that you just can't just say because of the fact that you think he's hurt. Maybe he's trying new things out. Maybe the way he likes to pull the ball out of the hole looks like an old man, but he doesn't care. Literally, I watched him do it.
You think maybe it's a proactive move? He's trying to prevent future back injury.
He's preventing. It's a preventative measure. Old people know that. People like me that are over 40, we know you got to take preventative measures.
Oh
Anyway,
my
all
God.
right, let's move on. I do like Jason Day this week. I think you're going to get him at low ownership. I think he's played well. He is checking some boxes. He's played well on this course before. When it was a WGC event last year, he was T40, which isn't great, but he was T10 the year before that. Had a third place finish back in 2016. So I think Ricky's, by the way, right above Jason Day. I think Jason Day is a good play this week. So let's get on. I don't have any other disagreements with you. Actually, we had a lot of agreement on the podcast.
Let's do sportsbook stuff. Give me some outrights. You tend to like the shorter. You like to play around in the little short, the short arena of the DK Sportsbook outright.
Yes,
betting odds.
Not last week, but when the last time my shorter odds got hit was John Rahm when I took him on the DK show. You hit him
at 20-1. Yeah, very nice.
20-1. So I'm going to go back to another guy at 20-1, and that is going to be Xander Schauffele at 20-1. I like him at that number. I think this is a good course for him. I think he can win, so I do like that. I also like Matthew Fitzpatrick at 28-1. I think that's another good number. But my favorite, shorter odd play would be Victor Hovland, getting him at 31-1, which is kind of a weird number. But I like that. I like that at 31-1. So if we're talking shorter odds, guys, I like Xander. I like Fitzy, but my favorite is Victor Hovland right there at that 30-1 number. I'm big on that. So how about you? Do you got anybody short or not?
No, I don't. But I don't hate those guys. I mean, in a 78-man field where I feel like there's really 65 guys that could possibly win this golf tournament. It's the most variable game in the planet. I'm going to go a little longer. I'm going to start with a guy who is in red-hot form and who fits the course profile here to a T, and that is Abraham Answer at 45-1. Love Abe Answer here. Absolutely love Abe Answer here. Then I'm going to go with Matthew Wolff at 90-1, who's been playing quite well. Definitely a scorer. Played well at the 3M. Confident, hitting the ball well. I like Matt Wolff a lot at 90-1. That's a big number for a guy who's already won on PGA Tour, who has competed in other events, and who's coming in pretty red-hot form. So I like Matt Wolff at 90. A guy who, this is crazy. Again, there are 65 humans that could actually win this golf tournament. And I'm being very loose with that definition. But Phil Mickelson is 150-1. Phil Mickelson, a multiple PGA Tour winner in big events, WGC winner, as recently as I think 2 years ago, or maybe a year ago. Mexico was the last one he won, maybe 2 years ago. And even since the restart, we've seen him put a really good round or two together. We haven't seen him put 4 together, but we've seen him put a round or 2 together. 150-1 to sprinkle like a little half unit is quite enticing for Phil Mickelson. Ryan Palmer at 175-1, another big number on a guy who's played very well since the restart and almost won just a couple weeks ago, finished runner-up, I believe, to John Rahm, as you mentioned, at the Memorial. So Ryan Palmer playing really well, 175-1, another guy who's won on the PGA Tour. I think that's a big number for a guy like him. So for Sportsbook, I'm kind of, those are a few names. And now I do like some first-round leader bets. Normally, I don't talk first-round leader bets on the show because there's a lot more players in the field and you get a bigger tee time wave advantage. But this week, with only 78 players, you don't really have a tee time advantage. But, anybody can go low in one round, and that's at any golf tournament with 150 players. When you only got 78, it's really enticing when you got guys like Cameron Champ, Keegan Bradley, both PGA Tour winners, both known scorers. Keegan is a first-round leader machine, both at 100-1. You got Bernd Wiesberger, who played pretty well last week at the 3M Open, who's in decent form. Brendan Todd, who's flashed a little bit of form and fits kind of the course profile, accuracy, make some putts, hit some greens. They're both at 90-1. And then a huge contingent of players at 80-1 for first-round leader. Names like Eric Van Rooyen, big-time scorer, can take advantage of the par fives. Matt Wallace, who's playing great right now. Ryan Palmer, who I already mentioned. Phil, who I already mentioned. Kevin Kisner, loves Bermuda, loves big events. Accurate player. Max Homa, 80-1, in good form, playing really well right now. Byung-Hun An can get hot at any moment, right? We've seen Byung-Hun An, first-round leader, many times. He can score. And Joel Damon, another guy who's had a pretty solid year and can get red hot. Those are some big names at 80-1 that even though this is a stacked field, you're talking about one round, the first round. Can they, for one round, put it all together and beat the likes of Rory and Bryson and JT and those guys? Yes, they can. So those are some first-round leader bets I'm kind of looking at. And that range of 80-1, 90-1, 100-1 is very enticing, especially if you got guys that end up tying. You're going to have to split the bet. I love it. Pat, can I throw out some Barracuda picks?
Yeah, let me just throw a few quick ones since you just talked a lot. And
I did talk a lot.
In the middle range, I do like Casey at 70-1. Everybody's been hating on Casey because he's been screwing their DFS lineups, but now we get him at 70-1. 70-1, Paul Casey.
Oh, easy for you to say.
Easy for me to say. I just think that's a good number for him, so I like that as well. And then longer, I like Danny Willett. Danny Willett.
Jeez, dude.
You went
right. To like 2000.
I did it right on the podcast, but I couldn't do it on the show. And I even wrote
like
it
2015 Pat right there. Danny Willett. It's Danny Willett.
Anyway, yes. Danny Willett at 125-1. We've seen him play really well lately. Yeah. So I like that. And Max Homa, you mentioned him as a first-round leader bet. I like him overall at 150-1. I think that's a good call there.
All right, so, it's in California this year for the first time. It is Stableford scoring. I won't bore you with that. It's very different. It's not traditional golf scoring, like under, over par kind of thing. It's almost like DraftKings scoring. You get a lot of points for birdies and eagles. You lose points for bogeys and doubles. That's what you need to know. You need people who are in form, who are hot, who have been making birdies, who know when to be aggressive, who are aggressive, actually. This is a scoring golf course, so young players tend to do well. Colin Morikawa won here last year. That's what I like. I'm going to go with the following names real quick. Sam Burns, 33-1. Great week last week. Taylor Gooch, 35-1. Another great week last week. Cam Davis, 45-1. Big hitting Australian, scores on par fives. Also played well last week at the 3M Open. All three of those guys, young, aggressive, scorers, bombers, love it. Will Gordon fits that profile as well, 55-1. He hits it longer than Matt Wolff. He's an absolute stud. He's got top tens on the PGA Tour. He could win this thing. Maverick McNeely at 70-1, who's been playing pretty well. He's skipped a couple of weeks, but he can get hot with the putter. Also a pretty solid score. So there's just a few names at the Barracuda that could end up cashing in on some outright bets. Pat?
All right, I'll give one then. I'll have one on this, and that's Cameron Tringali at 45-1. I will give you that.
Played really well last week. Yeah,
played really well last week. I think that is a good bet there. So I don't know. That's all I got, DB. I don't know what you got. But...
No, that's it, man. Appreciate everybody for watching. Be sure and hit the thumbs up, subscribe. We'll be back next week for the PGA Championship, the first major of the year. It's been a weird year.
Sounds so weird.
It does sound weird. But yeah, it's going to be a good week this week. May your screens be green. Thanks for watching Tour Junkies After Dark, presented by DraftKings. See ya.
Out.